Hi, everyone. It's 7 p.m. We're going to get started in just a minute.
Perfect.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Stareable Film School webinar series. It's me, Brie Castellini, your enigmatic host, as always. So hopefully what you just saw was the sizzle reel for Stareable Fest 2019, which is relevant to tonight's webinar because actually it's going to be a little bit different tonight. What I'm going to be doing is actually playing you the audio and a video I made later of what I presented at Stareable Fest this year. So I did the Everything is Easier webinar at Stareable Fest 2019, and we recorded the audio, and we thought, well, why repeat things? So I basically edited that into about a 20-minute video presentation that I'm going to play for you guys in just a second. And then after that is over, we're going to talk a little bit about Stage 10, our wonderful partner for these events. As always, we're going to talk about some cool live streaming ideas that you as filmmakers can use in order to, find a new audience, get people to give you money, celebrate the people who've already given you money. It's a lot to talk about, so we'll get to that later. But yeah, basically how tonight's going to go is first, I'm going to show the presentation as I gave it at Stareable Fest, which is going to take you through all of the ways in which Stareable can help you succeed. Then I'll come back live from Brie right now and talk to you a little bit about live streaming, cool ideas, and a special Stage 10 promo code. And then finally, we'll do Q&A the same way we do always. So I'm going to check the streams really quick, see how everything is going. How is everybody doing? Where's everyone from? So I'm the only one that's commented on either stream so far. So if you're here, please send a message. I want to make sure that we've got a couple of people here live. So if you are here, I see Alex NY Media has already said that he loves Stareable and Stage 10, which is very kind of you. Thank you so much. We love you too, but in a totally normal platonic way. Anybody else out there? Want to say hi? How's the stream going? Set looks a little different tonight. Stareable gave up its office to go full remote, like a real startup, and I am streaming from my apartment this evening. So I tried to make it nice for you guys, and actually that's a topic that we'll talk about a little bit later, making your live stream look nice and adding some production design elements to elevate it. But yeah, so if anyone is here, even though Brie from August 28th, 2019, won't be speaking for about 20 minutes. I will be here, of course, monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions as the chat goes on, I obviously won't be able to stop to talk to you about it, but I'll be able to, comment in the chats and keep up with you guys that way. So I know people don't always get here exactly on time, so I'm giving people a little bit of time to come here. So you know what I think I'm going to do? Here's what I'm going to do. Obviously, I will be around. I'm going to stick around in the chat. I'm going to be saying hi to everybody. I am going to do the sizzle reel one more time just because it's so pretty. Thank you so much to Jason Godby of both years of Stareable Fest for helping make that possible. It's a great video, so I'm going to share that one more time, and then we're going to get into the presentation. But as always, tell me who you are, where you're watching from, and let me know any questions you have about Stareable ahead of time so that if they are not answered by the following webinar, then hopefully I'll be able to answer them afterwards. So I will see you guys on the other side. So hello to everyone coming in and everyone already seated who I like more. My name is Brie Castellini, if you have not met me. I am Stareable's community director, webinar host, podcast host, and a variety of other things. And if that sounds like a lot, it is, but it's because Stareable has a lot to offer filmmakers, and that's exactly what this presentation is going to look at. I'm basically going to take you through our platform, the thing that Stareable does, the other 100% of the time directly influenced by something a filmmaker has said to us, either at the festival or one-on-one online or at a variety of our other events that we put on throughout the year. So again, we're going to look at the product, you're going to ask me some questions, and if you have some ideas, I would love to hear from you afterwards. So with that, what is Stareable? Well, broadly, we're the largest community of web series creators, but more specifically and concretely for all of you filmmakers out there, we are a set of tools and features, an audience building platform to make it easier for you to take control of your audiences, manage them, grow them, and don't feel like your soul is slowly dying every single day. The soul dying ending is the thing that I am most excited about. So how do we actually help manage your life a little bit easier? How do we make it so that your soul is safe for one day more? Well, let's get into that. So this is what a standard page on Stareable.com looks like. It's totally free to have a page with us. You don't have to give us any content. We don't own your IP in any way. And once you submit a series to our platform, this is the front page. This is exactly what it's going to look like. So this is an example from my series, Salmon Patter Depressed. And, you know, thank you. Shout out. Now you all understand why I'm doing this. It's just for me. Screw Stareable. Anyways, no, we can't do jokes like that because Ajay's here. So this is basically your basic page. You've got all the things that you've come to expect, you know, your categories, your show title, your key art, your description, as well as all of your social media accounts. And something that I really want to emphasize up top, because obviously I am also a filmmaker, but
Something you might not know about me is that I have had my own website since I was 12 years old. I have 3 domains, and that's something that I'm very comfortable with. And it's also something that I didn't feel the need to do for my most recent web series. And I'm not saying this because I'm up here as a shill for Stareable. I'm saying this because I am a filmmaker who is exhausted. And having a Stareable page to point people to that has all of the information that I need them to understand about my series was a tremendous, tremendous benefit to me as a person, as a human being. And I really want to make that clear. Because the thing that Stareable is most proud of and the thing that we are working towards most, fervently is that we want to become the one link to rule them all, in a sort. I think that everyone in here can relate to the fact that to be a content creator on the internet is to be a collector of URLs. You have your Patreon, you have your Seed and Spark, you have your Twitter, your Facebook, your other Facebook, your 3 other Twitter accounts, your Instagram, your everything like this, and it can get really, really frustrating, not only to your audience to have to go from place to place to place to find all of your content and find out how they can best engage with your story. But it's also really frustrating as a creator to have those 18 logins that you have to constantly upkeep on 18 different platforms and check out the analytics that are completely different from place to place and have an audience that gets fatigued every time you have to move them. So what Stareable is trying to do is collect all of your audience into one place to make it easier for you to have one link to send out, regardless of if you want people to watch your show, learn about it, get an update on it, get supplemental content, or even to give you money. We want you to only have to do one thing, which is to share your Stareable link and let the site do the rest as you are using our tools to bring people into it. And obviously from a creator side, which we'll get into later on in this presentation, we want to make it easier for you to not have to log into 18 different websites in order to update all of those. We want to make it easier for you so that you have more time to actually create and have to spend less time remembering what your password is on Twitter account number 3. So speaking of being able to watch the web series, obviously you've got an episode embed up here, which has been a really cool development. For us, we released the new series of this show back in March, and what we did is every week we changed this sort of promoted video that first comes up when you go to the page to the new episode of the week. And because we had trained our audience to look to Stareable for any new information, whether that was text and supplemental content or video content, anytime they went to our page, the most updated stuff was there. So that was a really powerful way for us to train an audience to understand and expect what to do when they wanted to hear more from us. So let's move to the next little tab down there. Cast and crew. Another thing that should be pretty straightforward, these are the people, the hashtag credit the credits, thank you Dropbox, who made our series possible. And if you were to click on any of these pages, you would get to their individual profile. So this is just a portion of my individual profile on Stareable.com that gives you a headshot, a little bit of bio that I customized, as well as a list of every single project that I have made in the web series space, which as you can see, accounts for a lot. And this has become a really great visual way for me to share with people what I'm working on in one visually appealing place. And again, I only had to send them one link, and they could find this really easily on the exact same platform and then easily get back to whichever page they started on. Or they could hop to the next show that they thought that they wanted to see based on being a fan of me or the original series they looked at. So let's move on over one more to our final tab, updates. And now this is one we're going to spend a lot of time on, both for this screen, the thing that the people see when they go to your page, as well as what happens behind the scenes. But starting out in front of the page, this is your updates feed. This is a fairly new feature that at least as it interacts on Stareable.com, is something where you can share information and content that isn't necessarily a new episode or a new cast and crew member, so that you can keep people engaged and continuing to train them to go to your Stareable page, even if you're in between episodes, in between seasons, or in between projects. So as an example, the first 2 posts that you can see here that you could clearly just read more of, regardless of what your account looks like, this is a cool thing that we did for season 2. So my show is obviously about mental health and living with mental illness, but in like a fun way. And what we did is we reached out to other filmmakers in our community who we knew struggled with mental illness and who were also artists, and we did a series of interviews with them where we talked about mental health and how they navigated their art despite their mental health and because of their mental health. And we published those interviews on our Stareable Updates feed, which allowed us to have a conversation that we thought was incredibly important to be having in media these days. We got to promote artists that we didn't ordinarily get to work with so that their work could be seen by more people. And every single person who read one of these interviews was doing so on our Stareable page. And because they were reading an interview about art and mental health, and because we were a web series about art and mental health, that worked as a natural organic marketing tool that let us do all those things I just listed and get more views for our series. So this is one of the really powerful ways that just having one link and one sort of home base for your series can really start to multiply the types of people that you're getting to your content. But I'm sure you're also kind of eyeballing these 2 lock posts at the bottom of this feed. So these are what happens when you have Stareable Enrich enabled on your page. Stareable Enrich is our monetization tool that empowers creators to offer freemium content on their Stareable pages. So alongside the stuff you're releasing for free, your episodes, your cast list, a couple interviews and supplemental content, you can also choose to lock certain content behind a paywall that you decide on so that the fans that want a little bit more, or who, shall we say, want an enriched experience with your series, can get that, again, right here on the platform. You don't have to send them to a new link to a whole new account that they have to sign up for. On the same page, they can watch your show, learn about it, get updates, and give you financial support so you can continue creating. So let's actually talk about Stareable Enrich a little more specifically. So back to the sort of main page, at the top of pages that have enabled Stareable Enrich, you can see this little support show button. And that's a pretty, clear CTA. I want to support this show. I think it's awesome. And for the record, this show really is. If you click on that, you are then taken to the Stareable Enrich page. So right now we have it enabled for up to 2 monthly tiers for ongoing support, which I think is pretty uniquely important to web series creators in particular, because we want to make multiple episodes. So, fundraising at one time might work for a little while, but ultimately what you're looking for is a sustainable career and a sustainable show. So this is sort of our way of addressing that. You can decide which amounts you want to do. You can totally decide on what you want to offer. Or for those of you who might have fans that are a little afraid of commitment, you can also add a one-time donation button with custom text. So our custom text is "Give us money, we're depressed," because that's just the kind of people we are. But the possibilities are endless. You can use it for a variety of things, and this is just sort of the basic of how you can start monetizing your content and monetizing your fans who have already gotten trained that Stareable is the place for where they should find stuff about your show. So let's move to the back end. That's all the stuff that is already super awesome and is already great for engaging and keeping the interest of an audience. But we also have a suite of tools that are all behind the scenes just for creators to, once again, make our lives easier and make us not die in the soul variety. So this is your dashboard. If you have a show on our site, then this is probably pretty familiar to you because it's where your account defaults once you log in after having a show on our site. But I just wanted to walk you through it because there's a lot of things on here that, while they may seem basic, can really influence the decisions you're making in marketing and talking about your show. So, we've got our 3 categories here. We've got show stats, update stats, and supporter stats. So let's look at show stats. So show stats are probably what you expected. Your page views, your review counts. And what I really want to point you to is this sort of week-over-week metrics. You can see how things are going from 2 weeks ago to this week to start to understand what decisions you're making that are actually getting you engagement. Because I think something that as filmmakers we forget sometimes is that while we're doing 18 different things to market our series, only maybe 6 of them are actually working. And on a week-over-week basis, you really want to be paying attention to these numbers. So if one week you're doing a lot of like really high impact, you know, video behind the scenes content, and then one week you're just doing a lot of like Instagram lives, and the week for Instagram lives you saw a lot higher page views, maybe you want to consider shifting some of your focus to the things that are actually working. And analytics can be a really powerful way of understanding that, because we're all exhausted just from making our show. But then of course we know that we have an additional duty, which is to market that show, which becomes, you know, a snowball effect of a longer job position than we were really expecting. So understanding what things are actually worth investing time into is going to be really powerful to make sure that you are making the best decisions, not only for your show, but for you. A lot of our panelists have been talking about, you know, taking care of yourself and making sure that you as a producer and a creator are in a safe environment and you are healthy enough to continue working. And one of the ways that you can do that and ensure that is to understand that everything you do doesn't have to be perfect, and that it's totally okay to stop doing things that aren't working. It's not a failure that your, you know, Twitter campaign for the past couple of weeks just isn't bringing in what you want. So go ahead and, you know, relieve yourself of the guilt of stopping these things and just pay attention to what's actually working and what things you really want to invest your time in. So let's move over to update stats. So this is where you're going to start to see the additional wrinkle in what Stareable Updates has to offer. So of course you've already seen the feed on your Stareable page where you can lock posts behind financial tiers, or you can offer them for free. But on the back end, you can also post and schedule content to any amount of Twitter pages and any amount of Facebook pages, which has, like, from me to you, completely changed my life. You know, I know that there are other social media management tools out there, but Stareable gives you the ability to, on an unlimited basis, just connect everything you need to and manage it all from one place. I don't have to log into Buffer and Hootsuite and all these other places and then all of my social media. I just have to log into Stareable to manage and understand and analyze everything that's happening on my social feeds. So, you know, obviously in each of these little categories, I'd be able to see what things were working for Twitter and Facebook and all of my Stareable posts. And in tandem with the stats above it, I can start to understand, you know, this week I was posting on Twitter about certain stuff. And as I can see from my show stats, we weren't getting as many clicks. So maybe we want to go back to a week that we were seeing a lot more click-throughs on the show page and focus on that kind of social media engagement. Or, for instance, if one week I'm posting on Facebook more often than I am on Twitter, I can directly see the results of what those posts are doing on their own platforms and how they're reflecting in the views on my actual web series. So again, a one-stop shop to fully understand what is worth your time and what's worth maybe revisiting at a later time. So finally, we have supporter stats, which again, should be pretty expected. So these are how many supporters you have at any of your individual tiers. Obviously, this would be customized depending on what your tier amounts are, but you can also see your donations, your total expected monthly income, and again, you can see how it's changed week to week. So that once again, you can analyze, these are the things I was posting on social media last week, this is how many new supporters I got, or how many supporters I lost as a result of that. So you can see the direct results of your efforts and start to make more informed decisions for which efforts are actually worth continuing. So let's talk about Stareable updates a little bit more so that you can kind of see how.
Hey gang, so as you probably were noticing, the video was a little bit behind the audio, even though they're the same file. So that's a bummer. It's probably my home internet's fault. So everyone in New York knows it's Optimum's fault specifically. Blame Optimum, they're terrible. But I guess I'll just pick up here on my own since, of course, I did this presentation before. I have obviously figured out how to do it. So I'm just gonna pick up where the video left off. And because there was a little bit of a delay in the video and audio, what we're going to do is after the webinar tonight, we are going to upload just like the video in its entirety, just the with no live streaming at all. And we will put a link to that in the description box below. So if you are watching this webinar later, you can find the link to the video version of this presentation below. But that's for future people. For people who are here now, it's just going to be me and you. We are going to talk. Just wanted to check my audio. It's good. I can hear myself. And because I am talking and showcasing this, you'll be able to see the actual things we want to talk about. So we were just wrapping up our data section, but the thing that we really just want to emphasize on the dashboard is that you need to be making decisions based on what's actually happening, not what you wish was happening. So if you're not seeing the analytics tick up that you expected based on the amount of effort you were putting into a Stareable enriched tier or a particular marketing idea, then you're going to probably want to pay attention to that data and make some changes. You don't have to make big changes. Oftentimes people think that, well, I'm just going to give up on all of this. Don't give up on all of it, but it is worth being thoughtful about what you're putting your time and energy into. And you can do that by looking at Stareable. So let's talk about Stareable updates, which is, between you and me, my favorite part of Stareable, honestly. I am someone who, as you can see from this part of the presentation, has a lot of social media accounts because I have many, many web series and many short films and many other nonsensical things that I do. And managing all of that and having to log into so many different websites to maintain all of those things has gotten, well, let's just say it, very stressful. So, and this is only a fraction. The ones that I'm showing you on this page, these are just happen to be the accounts I've attached to the Salmon Pattern Depressed Stareable page. But Stareable updates, let's talk about it. So we already talked about it a little bit, and hopefully if you heard that part of the earlier video or you watched the video that I'm going to put in the description after this presentation is over, you have already seen what it looks like on the feed. You've seen that you can add long form text updates or embed videos and all that good stuff. And you can also lock it behind an enriched tier for particular tiered subscribers. But the other thing that's cool about Stareable updates is that you can manage your social media all from here. So as you can see, I have attached a number of Facebook and Twitter accounts to my Stareable updates manager. And what that means is that I can schedule or post to all of these accounts as often as I want, which, let me tell you, has made my life infinitely easier. I essentially automated 3 months worth of social media in one afternoon just by using Stareable updates because I already had the links to all of the videos because I was just going to send people to my Stareable page as Salmon Pattern Depressed Season 2 was airing. So I didn't need a new unique URL. And I could just schedule out all of those, hey, new episodes ahead of time so that all I had to do was add the video that morning and automatically all of my social media was taken care of from like 3 months ago, Bree. So it was pretty sweet. And I'm going to show you how that works a little bit. So this is where I would select what places I want to post whatever I'm about to compose. So in this example, we are going to post to the Sam and Pat Are Depressed Stareable page. We're going to post to my production company Facebook page, Undead Burrito Productions, and also to the Undead Burrito Twitter account. So if we just go over to compose, look at this. I can schedule this tweet years in the future. I can also add images because of course I can, because images often make social media posts better. And you can also see that there's a little character count in the corner to make sure that like it can actually be published to Twitter and Facebook. And obviously that's dynamic based on what platform you're on, because obviously you can post more than 280 characters on Facebook. And the only other thing I'm going to show you in this compose screen, because it should be pretty straightforward, it's where you compose your message, is over here on the Stareable one, where you would compose your longer form Stareable update. You can also right here choose who gets to see this update. So it's all going to be published to your updates feed on your Stareable show page. But if you have Stareable enriched subscribers, you can lock whatever you're composing to particular tiers. So you can either, have it public for everyone, like the mental health and making things articles I was talking about earlier. It can go to all supporters, so anyone who's giving you any amount of money, or to particularly the $1 or $5 tier in this example. So that's just the way that you can manage who is seeing which posts. So since I'm live, I'm going to go check chat. How's everybody doing? Everyone's doing good. And if there are any questions so far, please feel free to add them in the comments section, and I would be happy to answer them after the presentation. So after you've composed your Stareable update, whether it's to social media, to your Stareable page, or to both, this is where you can decide when it goes out. So when I presented this presentation at Stareable Fest, it was the 21st of July. So my example was, well, let's post this tomorrow at like 4 or 5 p.m. I won't be awake because I'll have just finished Stareable Fest and I will be completely exhausted. So let's say I want a tweet to go out 4:53 p.m. tomorrow night. More notably, though, than that, because social media scheduling is a pretty common thing. Most people understand that and can appreciate how useful it is. But what's unique to Stareable updates is that over here, you're going to see a cast and crew list, which you might recognize from the cast and crew list that we looked at earlier, the one that is displayed on my Stareable page. So because all of those people had to verify their accounts in order to add their image and add their bio and all that good stuff, they now appear in my Stareable updates compose page for the show that they are associated with. And it also means that if I want to notify all of them or particular cast and crew members that an update is going out, I can select them right here, write them a quick little note in the edit email button, and then schedule it off. And what this means, I really want you to think about this, is that if you are doing the thing that I did a couple of months ago, where you're automating the release of your web series, you know that you're going to post every Monday morning, so you're already writing up all those tweets and putting them all out there all at once. And you know that you want particular cast and crew members who worked on particular episodes to know when a new episode has gone out. Instead of having to remember what day a particular cast member was in an episode and remember what day and what time that tweet is going out, what this allows you to do is automatically update them. So if I am posting this tweet tomorrow at 5 p.m. and I have selected Chris, Michelle, and Connor, and myself because I want to remind myself, that means that at 5 p.m. tomorrow, when that tweet posts, those people all get an email. And that can happen as far in the future as you want. So you can essentially automate not only your social media posts and what goes out to your fans, but you also can automate harassing your cast and crew. And I can imagine that most people listening to this presentation have had a situation where it's been a couple of months, you've been in post-production, your cast and crew has largely moved on to other projects, and when it comes time to finally promote the cool thing that everyone has worked on together, they're nowhere to be found. And it's really hard to have to remember what their email addresses are and send them messages over and over again. But doing this allows them to automatically get an email with all of the links to the social media you have posted with a clear CTA. Hey, can you reshare this to your followers so more people see it? They can click a link. It takes them directly to the posts that you wanted to alert them of, and they can reshare right from there. Could not be easier for anyone involved, and it has tremendously changed my life in terms of marketing. And as you guys know from the other 3 webinars that we've done about marketing, I do a lot of it, and anything that makes that easier really, really helps. So now let's talk just really briefly about everything else that Stareable has to offer outside of Stareable.com and Stareable Fest, because we're a pretty full service company, and I think it's worth knowing all of the cool things that we have to offer. So if you have been around the Stareable block, you might recognize this screen, but this is the Stareable Community Forum. It is essentially the place where filmmakers gather. It's a Stareable Fest online, as it were, where people can network and ask questions of one another. They can post jobs if they like, and they can read hundreds of blog posts all about making a web series, whether it's posts for first-time filmmakers, posts about marketing in particular, or posts about budgeting and money. Speaking of the blog, we also have a blog with over 120 articles written both by me and by other members of the Stareable filmmaking community. I believe Kaylee Brown was in the stream earlier tonight. Shout out to Kaylee. She wrote a great article called How to Light Without a Kit, which is something that she has a lot of experience in, and is something that I think a lot of people will be familiar with in terms of the struggle, figuring out how to light a scene without actually having the proper equipment, because we're all broke. Nobody has any money. So she wrote a great article about that, and now that is part of the Stareable Film School blog. So the Stareable Film School blog is basically as comprehensive as it comes, and if you need any guidance, we probably have an article specifically for your problem. We also, if reading isn't really your thing right now, we have 2 seasons of a podcast called Forget the Box out, where I interview a variety of digital filmmakers and digital media experts, like the head of innovation at the UTA Management Company, and Bernie Sue, the 3-time Emmy Award-winning web series creator, actually the first person to ever win an Emmy for a YouTube distributed show. Very cool. So we interviewed quite a few people through that, just talking about production and about the nature of the digital media industry and everything in between. And as you are likely aware, we have done a series of webinars. our, Stareable Film School webinar series brought to you by Stage 10, as always. That's just another way that you can learn a little bit more about making the most of your time on the internet. You went through all of this trouble of making an incredible web series, and it would be a shame if nobody saw it. So what we're trying to do is make that whole process of wrangling people to see it a little bit easier. And that would have been the end of that presentation. So welcome. Y'all still with me? How's everybody doing? Got a couple of viewers. All right, cool. Well, if everybody is good and ready, I move on really quickly to our live streaming section of the presentation tonight. So that's the using Stareable to succeed. So if you've ever had a question about Stareable, about what it is, how you can use it to the best of your abilities, please comment with your questions. But in the meantime, before we get into the full question answer period, I wanted to talk a little bit more specifically about live stream ideas, because when it comes to succeeding with your web series and using Stareable and getting the word out about this cool thing that you've done, live streaming is actually a really cool and interesting way of changing up the type of content that you're using to market yourself. And I think we ought to talk about it. And specifically, we ought to talk about it in context of our awesome partners at Stage 10. So we've used Stage 10 for every single webinar we've done. They are tremendous. Every problem that I've ever had has been solved by Stage 10. They're what allows us to simultaneously cast to Facebook and YouTube. We could cast to other places. We've just chosen not to, but they make it super easy. They're a platform to make live streaming a little bit more user-friendly, which is something that I don't think anyone has cracked yet. So we're really excited to have them. And perhaps, based on what we're about to talk about, you might actually want to use them too, which I highly recommend. So by using the code Stareable50, that's all caps, Stareable50, you can get 50% off your first 6 months of any paid plan on Stage 10. And that could be as low as $11 a month. And for this particular platform and for the potential rewards that you would get from using them, that's basically nothing. You're probably going to make your money back immediately. So if you're interested in getting a 6 months, 50% off Stage 10 membership, what you got to do is sign up for your free account at stage10.tv, complete the sign up process and select upgrade plan at the top right, and upgrade to the plan of your choice, whatever feels right to you. Add your billing information along with the promo code Stareable50, again, all caps, it's case sensitive. Then confirm your subscription and click save. Bing, bang, boom, you've got 50% off for 6 months. And you can do a lot in that time. So let's actually get into what a lot means and what you can actually get out of live streaming as web series creators yourselves. So these are some tricks for amazing live streaming. First up is how to actually set up your stream. So the first thing you're going to want to do is test your tech, which is something that I spent a lot of today doing because I changed up a lot of things about my setup, and I needed to make sure that they all worked. So the first thing that you're obviously going to want to check is your audio. Whether you're counting on your laptop's internal mic, which you shouldn't because it's going to sound weird, headphones with a microphone on them, or a USB microphone, and make sure you check how it sounds. If you're planning on multiple people being on camera, so unlike my sole lonely webinar streams, make sure to test how it sounds when people are further away from the mic or off to each side. You should also test where in frame you want to place the mic so it doesn't look awkward, and how loud you should tell everyone to be. So for instance, I'm using AirPods for this presentation. It's my first time using AirPods, and so I wanted to make sure that that was going to work. So I did a couple of test streams earlier just to make sure that stuff that I was talking about was actually getting to the stream. And it was, and I'm glad I tested it, because if it hadn't gone that way, that would have been a problem. The next thing you're going to want to test is your camera, which is probably just going to be your webcam, like what I'm using. How clear is the picture when you're streaming on your Wi-Fi? As we found out tonight, perhaps I shouldn't be streaming videos from my Wi-Fi to live streaming. Maybe I should just stick to the talk-in and the screen sharing. Is there stuttering, a delay in sound and picture? Can you read the text that's put on the screen? How's the lighting? If you're holding up props, is it clear where they are? You don't want to be figuring these things out like as you're live streaming. Unfortunately, tonight is an example of me not doing that because I was like, oh no, I've got this. I didn't, and I should have tested my tech. The next thing you're going to want to learn more about and test out is the platform. So Stage 10 is actually the only thing that has gone fully 100% great today because I've used them before and I tested out all of their new improvements today so that I knew exactly how to run my stream as soon as it started. And I definitely want to impress upon you that using like a live streaming management platform like Stage 10 is going to be really, really beneficial because it'll allow you to do things on the fly instead of just having like one screen. So for instance, as I'm talking, I am going to do a thing. And that thing is this. Oh my gosh, look, it's me. A screen on the screen. That was something that I could do really quickly. And you know what? I can also take me away. So if I don't want to see my weird face anymore, boom, I'm gone. You don't have to see me. You can still hear me. Everything's great. I could have put myself anywhere on the screen, and I did that as I was talking to you. And this is the kind of flexibility that a management platform like Stage 10 gives you. It's not just point a webcam at something and just hope for the best. You have a lot of flexibility, and as you'll see later in the presentation, a lot more things that you can do to make the live stream a success. So the next thing you're going to want to test is your graphics. So you've seen a couple of graphics today, like our be right back, submit to Stareable graphic, things like that. But if you're using graphics like, let's say, a lower third, with some information on it, make sure that the lower third is the correct size so that everything else in your frame is still visible and it's readable. Maybe you'll notice a typo when you're testing it out. All of these things are important to test. You're also going to want to test the links. So because you're probably going to be streaming to multiple platforms, it would be kind of a waste if you didn't. How you get the link to your stream differs. So, on YouTube, you can just go to your channel page and you'll find it. On Facebook, sometimes you have to hunt a little bit more. So it's worth knowing where to find the links to your streams so that you're not like hunting them down and you've been live for 10 minutes. You don't want that. You want to make sure that you know where you're going to be streaming to and how to find that link. And finally, moderating. So things that you're going to want to know if you expect or are counting on people commenting and chiming in is how that will appear. If you think that quite a few people will be chiming in, I definitely recommend having a second person monitoring those comments and feeding you questions instead of you having to trail off to read them and then jumping back into the stream to answer. So obviously that is advice that I am not following tonight. I am a women's show here at Stareable Film School webinar series. However, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. And I am really excited to be here with you all. And this is me trailing off to read the comments. The spell tutor asks any country limitations. Spell tutor / Herman, can you please clarify what you mean by any country limitations? I'm not exactly sure when that comment came in. So the other things that you're going to want to do is fancy up your frame. So I kind of alluded to this earlier in terms of what we were going to talk about. But when you want to make a good live stream, you want to make sure it looks good. It's a piece of content. And if you're going to be promoting your web series through a live stream, you want to make sure the live stream looks good. Because if it doesn't, people are going to assume your web series doesn't look good, and then the whole effort's a wash. So think about things like production design. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but obviously the way that your stream looks matters. And oh, look, here I am. As you can see, I made sure to put out my nice Stareable sign on a little stand so that you knew this is a Stareable stream. I put out some of my old badges from the various film festivals I've been to, including Stareable Fest 2019, where the original part of this presentation is from. And I've got some nice, colorful, textured scarves behind me. It's not too much, it's not too busy, but it's nice. It's something to flash up the frame. The other thing you're going to want to think about is lighting. As we talked about a little bit earlier, I might just be repeating myself here, but make sure your lighting is good. I actually have an LED light set up just beyond my webcam because I knew that my apartment's actual lighting is really, really bad and gross, and I wanted to make sure that you could see my enigmatic aura so that this presentation would go off without a hitch. And the other thing you're going to want to think about is obviously your camera webcam angle. Just because it's a live stream doesn't mean that you don't think about it like a filmmaker. So, I'm in my little third here, but I'm making sure that you can still see the Stareable sign out here, but also you can't see all the other nasty stuff that's in my apartment because I have been very smart about my framing and I wanted to make it look nice for you guys. So those are just some, specific examples about making sure that your frame looks kind of nice. I'm vamping because I'm taking myself off the screen. There I am. Goodbye to me. I'm gone. I'm not gone forever. I'll come back. The other thing is you're going to want to solve your sound. So if you are going to have more than 2 or 3 people on your stream, I would suggest buying an omnidirectional USB mic. USB mic is useful because it connects straight to your computer and you don't need to, figure out some weird external sound solve. And omnidirectional is great because it means that you don't have to do that thing that people do on red carpets where they point the microphone at people. If you're not a sound person, I'm explaining it for you. If you are a sound person, forgive me for my amateur explanation. But essentially, omnidirectional means that even as people are kind of further away from it and are at odd angles, it still picks them up just as well. You don't have to point it at individual people to hear them on the stream. Or if you're just going to do a 2 or 3 person stream, another option might be a headphone splitter. So those little things that you use to listen to, have 2 people plug their headphones into the same device. That same thing can be useful for a live stream because most headphone sets have a microphone on them. That's how people talk on the phone. So if you use a headphone splitter, you can pick up the audio from both people's mics. So just crowd around the computer and have at it. The other thing is that we talked about graphics earlier, and you might think, oh, I don't need those. I'll just turn it on and talk, but that's not going to actually make you a successful live streamer. So make sure that you've got a lower third for your main call to action. Obviously, since I'm doing a presentation, it's not as relevant because our link is all over the place and we've got plenty of other ways to showcase our information. But if you have a main call to action that your live stream is set up to support, so a crowdfunding campaign or getting more followers on Twitter or whatever it may be, having a lower third with that omnipresent URL or your show name or something is just a really nice, simple branding tactic. If you're going to do split screens, making sure that you have the graphics in the correct size for that, that's going to be really important just so that it doesn't look weird and you're stretching or making something too skinny. And also that be right back slide is going to be really, really important. So, you've seen ours already. It's how we start every stream to give me a chance to hunt down the links and tweet and make sure that everyone knows that we're here. But the BRB screen is absolutely vital. If, you start coughing and you need to go take a break and get a drink of water. If you want to take a break in between segments, whatever it is, you're going to want something branded on screen to give people something to do, but also to give yourself a break. So making that ahead of time is really important. So when it comes to ideas for live streams and how to use them to the best of their abilities, like with every piece of advice I give filmmakers, you got to think about your goal. You can't just say, I want to do a live stream. It's great. Why? What is the goal? What are you hoping to get out of it? So I've narrowed down my ideas for live streaming to 3 different categories. The first is to make money all at once. Usually this is, like a fundraiser, essentially, a live streamed fundraiser. Second, your goal might be to reward paying subscribers, perhaps Stareable enrich subscribers that you can talk to via your locked Stareable updates. And third, the goal for your stream might be to attract new audiences. So each of these goals can feed into each other, but they're pretty distinct in terms of what kinds of ideas and strategies you should use around them. So let's break that down. Bye, Megan Rapinoe. So let's say you're looking to make money all at once. The first thing you're going to need to do is plan for a stream for a few hours. So Stareable webinars tend to be about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how long the initial presentation takes. But if you're looking to make money all at once, you're going to want to stream for at least 3 hours. Otherwise, you're just not going to capture people. And a fundraising event is really hard, especially when it's online and people might be commuting. You don't want to miss people. There's a reason that when people do big crowdfunding campaigns, they stream for like 12 hours at a time. Usually they have a lot more teammates than most web series teams have, but the principle stands. You want to make sure that you have the opportunity to capture people wherever they are in their day. You're also going to want to figure out your monetization strategy. So how are you collecting this money all at once? It's most commonly used in conjunction with like a crowdfunding campaign. So like a mid-campaign sort of fundraiser stream, or in our case, in the example I'm about to share, at the very end of our campaign, we did a pretty long live stream. You might be pointing people towards your Stareable Enriched tiers or your one-off contribution button. You might be pointing people towards a PayPal button. Whatever it is, make sure you have that ahead of time, because if the point is to make money all at once, you got to know where that money is coming from. You're also going to want unique visual interactive segments, because if you're going to be streaming for more than an hour or two, you're going to need some different things to break up the monotony, to make sure that anytime somebody checks back in, it's something different is happening, and it's worth watching for however long somebody wants to watch. And finally, as you're planning these unique visual interactive segments, you want to think about, what are people going to be able to pay for? Because just streaming and talking and having a good time is fine, but if there's no way for the people who are watching it to interact with you, and specifically to interact with you by giving you money, then making money all at once probably isn't going to happen. So let me give you an example. So like I mentioned, I once did a 6-hour live stream for the last 6 hours of our Salmon Powder Depressed Season 2 crowdfunding campaign. So this was before Season 2 was made. It was the last 6 hours of our crowdfunding campaign. We'd already made our goal because it was a pretty low goal, but we wanted to see if we could eke out a little bit more money and have a little bit more fun with it. So as you can see here, we've got our little lower third down there with the CTA of, go to our Seed Spark campaign and give us money, please. That's the URL that was omnipresent the entire 6 hours. So no matter when you chimed in, you were like, oh, I see what they're doing. Maybe I'll go give them money. So this is an example of us doing a live commentary on season 1 episodes. But essentially what we did is we broke up the 6 hours into 6 different unique segments. And each segment had a reason for somebody to give us money. My favorite of which was this segment here. So this is Chris's Craft Corner. So Chris Cherry, my co-star, his character in Sam and Pat, does a lot of crafting and these weird little crafts that don't make much sense. And so what he decided to do was go to Michael's, get a bunch of craft supplies, and paint my portrait live on camera. And anytime somebody gave us money, they got to tell him what new type of crafting he should use to create my portrait. So, he had paint, he had glue, he had stickers, he had pipe cleaners and feathers. He had all sorts of garbage. And anytime someone gave us money, they could request either a new piece of a new artistic rendering of me, or they could choose something to put into the portrait. So for instance, somebody gave us $5 and said that they wanted me to be riding a horse. So he started drawing a horse. And so this was a really fun way of getting people involved in the stream, but also gave them a reason to give us money. It didn't have to be a lot each time, but because we had a lot of opportunities for them to impact the stream, that made us a lot more money, because throughout the entire 6 hours, regardless of when somebody tuned in, there was something for them to do and a reason for them to want to give us money, outside of us just being, delightful people making a cool show. So that was a really fun and powerful use of that, of the live streaming universe. So I'm going to just go over and check on our comments. Let's see if Spell Tutor. Oh, thank you for clarifying, Herman. So Spell Tutor is asking that he is in Canada. Will stage 10 work for him? You know what? I'm not sure, but they've got live chat on. So I'm just going to send them a quick chat. And hopefully they'll get back to us before the stream ends. But that's a great question, Herman, and I will hopefully get you an answer to that. So let's move on to the next goal that you might have for great live stream ideas. So rewarding paying subscribers. So we've heard this from a lot of people, that one of their rewards for ongoing financial support, usually through Stareable and Rich, is a regular live stream with the creators. So usually a monthly live stream. And it's a great option because it's pretty easy to set up, all things considered, if you do it right. So things to think about if this is your goal. Obviously, you're going to want to keep it private, so stream to an unlisted YouTube link or to an invite-only Facebook page because, these people are paying you and you want to make sure that what they're getting is exclusive. The other thing that you're going to want to do is probably not a 6-hour live stream every month because that's going to be a lot of work to put on. So you're going to want to come up with some ideas that are a little bit lower impact on you so that it can be a more sustainable thing, because the whole point of getting Stareable and Rich subscribers is to create a sustainable workflow for yourself so that you can have an ongoing career. So when you're coming up with ideas, think about what are visually interesting things that you're already doing. You're creators. Regardless of what month it is, you're probably doing something creative, and you might need to be you might need to be flexible about what that is, but I came up with some examples just from one of the shows that I've worked on. So if you're familiar with me and my work, you've probably heard me talk about the show Brains before. I know this has been a pretty Sam and Pat heavy presentation webinar so far, but Brains was my first love, and it's all you need to know about it is that it is a zombie web series. That's all you need to know. So if I had Stareable and Rich supporters for Brains when it was still going on, here's some examples of pretty low-key live streams that I could do that would be integrated into my existing workflow. So, rehearsals. Rehearsals are obviously something that anybody is doing, but for our show in particular, because it was a zombie show, we had a couple of fight scenes that we had to choreograph. So this is a photo from one of our early fight choreography sessions. And that would have been a super fun thing to live stream. We could have taken questions. People could have suggested, oh, give them a right hook at that point. It could have been a really fun interactive opportunity to show like the process of how we built our fight scenes. Rehearsals are always really interesting, especially when they're visceral like that. Another idea could be to take your live stream audience on a location scout with you. Most filmmaking teams have to go on a location scout at one point or another, and sometimes you end up in kind of cool places. So live streaming from there is a way of just bringing people along on your process. Prop building is also an opportunity. So this is a picture from an episode of Brains where we had somebody in prison and we had to like create a prison cell out of a classroom. So, we had like pipes and hot glue and all sorts of stuff. It was a whole thing. It was something we were already doing, but like as we were constructing it, we had a lot of time to chat. That would have been a great time to turn on the live stream and just let people know what was going on, showcase a little bit of behind the scenes building, and, show them how the magic gets made. And another idea, because we're a zombie show, is, of course, zombie makeup. When we're doing wardrobe testing, when we had to make all of the bloodstained clothing that we had our actors wear, or when we were testing out different zombie looks, that would have been a super visual and interesting way to do a live stream. Like that, there are so many opportunities with the zombie makeup in particular that I'm so upset with myself for not having thought of at the time. It's ridiculous. So finally, and this is something that I think a lot of you will be particularly interested in, is how can you use live streaming to attract new audiences? Because obviously something that all of us are interested in is going outside of the people who already know us and finding new people to know us and enjoy us and find us brilliant. So if this is your goal, you're going to want to plan and promote a stream that's thematically aligned with your web series, but has a broader appeal to the audience segment that you want to target. So if a thematically aligned stream is something up your alley and you want to learn more about audience segments and how to find those audience segments, we actually have a Stareable webinar just for you. Our Stareable webinar entitled how to find and define your audience is already on our YouTube and Facebook pages. So if you just go look for that, you can figure out exactly what your audience segment is, and hopefully that'll help you plan this cool live stream. The other thing that you're going to want to do in terms of the marketing of this thematically related live stream is to emphasize what the audience is getting out of it or what the problem you're solving for them is. Because when you're looking to attract new audiences, it's often hard to lead with like who you are as a filmmaker because no one knows who you are. No one knows your show. But they might know something related to your show or be interested to something related to your show. And once you have them there, you can transition them into viewers. So let me give you a couple examples of what that means. So going back to Brains, having a live stream ostensibly about teaching people how to do zombie special effects makeup would have been such a good idea. I mean, if the existing YouTube tutorials aren't proof enough, people love special effects makeup tutorials. They love learning about that kind of stuff. So if we had gotten our makeup artists to do like a live demo, We could have had a lower third with the web series link. We could have actually taught people how to do special effects makeup. And while it was happening, we could tell people about our show. They were already there because they were interested in special effects and probably zombies. And so because they were already there for something thematically related to our web series, we could have immediately said, you know, once you're done watching this, go watch this in action on our web series page. Would have been a totally great idea. Or if your show is more like about modern relationships and dating, which I know a lot of you out there have shows about like modern relationships and dating, like the show Stray, which is this photo is from. Stray is a bromantic comedy, bromantic. That's important that you hear that it's a bromantic comedy about a straight guy and a gay guy who are best friends and are both exploring dating at their own pace. And if they were doing a live stream, maybe a fun idea could be to live critique people's Tinder bios and like workshop how to make their bios better. Or even they could have people submit their like Tinder and Grinder like profile pics, and you could do live critiques on like, all right, I think the framing is good in this picture, but we don't see enough of your face. Or, you know, I think you should put a shirt on and maybe add a dog, things like that. Like just fun, irreverent sort of things that are related to dating. And once you have people there, you can say, and if you want to hear us joke about dating in a more scripted setting, why don't you check out our web series Stray? Again, you're bringing people in with something that they're already interested in that isn't linked to a property they don't understand. And then you're getting them interested in that property that they don't understand because you've already convinced them that you're an expert in something thematically related. So a final example I'll give just to showcase how sort of broad this that you can take this is Sam and Pat. We've talked about Sam and Pat a lot tonight, and specifically, this is a web series comedy about roommates. And I think we've all probably had a roommate problem in the past. And one of a fun Sam and Pat stream might be to do like roommate court, where Chris and I would adjudicate on different roommate disputes that people have. So people can come in and say, hey, me and my roommate are fighting about the dishes. This is my side, this is their side. And then, you know, live in our web and in our live stream, we could adjudicate on that. We could say, ooh, I see what you're saying, but I think that this person's actually in the right. We could make jokes, we could be stupid, we could do something fun, but point being, we're doing roommate related stuff. And then at the end, we could say, so who are we? Well, we actually created a web series about roommates. So if you're frustrated with your roommate and you need some time away from them, why not watch our web series? Point being, you attract people with something they already understand, with a problem that you might want to solve for them, and then you slowly lead them towards the path to your web series. So once again, if this sounds interesting to you, definitely get in on this awesome Stage 10 discount. So I'm going to read you how to actually claim this awesome discount. The code is Stareable50, Stareable50, all caps. It is cap sensitive. Sign up for your account at stage10ten.tv. Complete the sign up process and select upgrade plan in the top right of your studio. Upgrade to the plan of your choice, add your billing information, and then add that promo code Stareable50, all caps, before confirming your subscription and clicking save. And you too will have an awesome Stage 10 membership for you to make cool live streaming wherever you are. So Herman, they have not gotten back to me about whether or not Stage 10 is available in Canada. I can't imagine why they wouldn't be. It's just it's online. So you know what? I'm gonna go on a quick break, take a drink of water. But thanks so much for being here, everyone. And if you will stick around, I will do more questions about how to use Stareable to succeed. You know what Stareable even is, and all of our various features. So if you have any questions about that or live streaming, let me know, and I will be right back. So if you want to answer, leave questions in the like YouTube or Facebook comment section, feel free to do that right now. When I come back, I will start with those questions and we'll go from there. Oh, hello. Welcome back to my parlor. I answered this in the chat, but I wanted to make sure that it was in the actual webinar as well. So stage 10, I can't believe I forgot about this, but I was doing a little Googling to confirm Herman's question. Stage 10 is based in Canada. So of course it is available in Canada. So if there are any Canadian web series creators out there in the world, you can definitely also get in on the stage 10 fun. And again, I highly recommend it. I know that they're like our partner on this event. And so like I'm contractually obligated to talk nice things about them. And similarly to Stareable, I'm here for Stareable. So of course I'm going to say like Stareable is a great platform, but like, listen, hopefully I have gotten a little bit of trust from you guys in the 2.5 years that I've worked for Stareable and have been a public figure in your hearts and minds. And I am telling you, as a filmmaker, not as a partner of Stage 10, not as an employee of Stareable, as a filmmaker, as Brie Castellini, struggling web series creator, both of these companies are incredible. They have made my life as an employee and a filmmaker so much better. And I genuinely believe in the tools that they offer. I think they're worth what they say that they're worth. I think that it would be a mistake to ignore them. So if you have any questions about specifically Stareable and maybe a little bit Stage 10, I can only speak from experience with Stage 10, but I can speak to a lot about Stareable. So if you have any questions about Stareable that maybe you've always wondered, or we recently released a new feature and you're not quite sure what to do with it, that's what I'm here for. And again, for those of you who had some trouble following along with the first half of the Using Stareable to Succeed webinar because of Optimum issues, we will be adding a link in the description of this video as soon as I am not live anymore to a video version of that so that you'll be able to consume it there and rewatch as many times as you need. But in the meantime, are there any questions before I wrap up this webinar? So it looks like Facebook's pretty quiet. We had Alex and Gerald here earlier. So hello to both of you. If you're still here, please let us know if you have any questions. And I know Herman and Kaylee are kind of chilling in the YouTube comment section, but if there's anyone else out there who has questions, now is the time to ask. Oh, and this is something probably worth mentioning while I wait for some questions to come in. If you are interested in a free month's trial, so totally free, not even 50% off, a free month's trial of a new Stareable suite of features that we're working on, let me know. Stareable is soon to be launching a whole, not just one feature, but like a package of features that we are going to charge a little bit of money for. But if you want to get in on the ground floor, test it out, help us get some feedback, you can email Ajay at stareable.com, AJAY at stareable.com. As long as you have a Stareable page, so as long as you have a show page for your Stareable, you can get in on this. And it is available to everyone outside of the US. But if you are interested in a free trial, email Ajay and we will get you signed up. Just to give you a little bit of a preview of what this cool suite of tools is going to be, we are unleashing. We're letting into the world vanity URLs, which is something that people have been asking about for a long time. That's instead of having like the Stareable series view, that kind of stuff, you could just have samandpat.stareable.com. And not only that, not only is like the URL bar a little bit cleaner for you, but you will also get a little bit more specific to you page. So we won't have like the explore options. We won't have main navigation links messing things up. We won't have a search bar, and there are going to be no related shows underneath. That show page, that vanity URL, is just for you. So you have a little bit more of a professional showcase for your work. So that's something coming around the bend. You'll also get unlimited Stareable enriched tiers. So instead of just having the 2 that we talked about in the video and presentation tonight, you can have unlimited tiers, as many as you'd like. And you can also get unlimited donation buttons. So you can assign particular thank you messages to particular rewards, which is kind of almost like a proto shop. So that's a really cool opportunity that you will just get by signing up for Stareable Pro. So again, if you want to help us test this out and get a free month of Stareable Pro, let us know. Oh, wow. Looks like we've got a couple of questions coming in. So Spell Tutor is asking, is there going to be a Stareable presence at the New Jersey or Minnesota Web Fest? Unfortunately not. New Jersey, because They've already filled up their slate. They've got so many cool things happening there. Unfortunately, there just wasn't space for us this year. And Minnesota, unfortunately, just nothing came together fast enough for us to get together with them. We just don't have the ability to get out there this time. But I mean, a number of selections at both of those festivals are Stareable shows. So hopefully the community will rep itself. And now I've got some questions from Amanda Taylor, which is, okay, we got 3 questions from Amanda. So first question, how do you recommend hosting a live stream when your main team lives in separate places? Lots of question marks. Apparently this is causing her a lot of distress. I don't know why I said apparently. I'm one of her faraway team members. We have a show coming up called Better With You soon. It'll be on Stareable next month. But honestly, and I'm not just bullshitting because they're our partner, but Stage 10 actually has a really easy way of integrating other people into your live stream. So the same way that I have been like putting a little picture of me in over the like screen share, you can do that with other people in the stream, and you can give people an invite so that they can stream their webcam just to your little like dashboard, and you can construct how you want things to look. So you can have, let's see, how many can you have? You can have, I think you can have up to 4 or 5 different little segments of your screen. And each one of those segments is a different team member. So you can have a couple people in one camera, a couple people in the other, and you can organize it however you like, in addition to any graphics that you want to put on the screen. So that is a really good way of getting lots of people involved and making sure that they're all seen on screen at the same time, regardless of where they are in the world. But they probably don't want to be using Optimum Internet to do so. Another question that Amanda has is, sometimes people feel uncomfortable during a live stream, even if they're actors. Tips. So this is hard. I feel bad giving advice on like how to not be awkward in person or like on camera, because I am a person who, I don't know if you've noticed, is very comfortable talking and vamping for long periods of time, even extemporaneously without a script. So I always feel like a fraud when I give advice. But what I will say, especially if you're doing like a multi-person stream, so if it's not just going to be them, try to make it more like a conversation. So this is advice that I give people who are doing like interviews, and either for journalism or more often for things that they're recording, whether it's a podcast or like a video interview, to get the person that they're interviewing to be more comfortable, instead of just jumping right into the questions, starting out with just like some small talk, like asking them about their work, asking them about their day, asking them about their dog, whatever it ends up being. Just sort of let them be comfortable, and also talk to them about what you're going to be talking about ahead of the stream. So if, for instance, an actor you're working with is a really big, I don't know, let's say horror movie fan, and you know that they have a lot of opinions about horror movies, and you know that your web series that you're probably going to want to be promoting with them is related to horror movies and Halloween, perhaps. I'm just spitballing here. Maybe have them just talk about their most recent favorite horror film. Did they see Midsummer? Are they someone who, is really up on new horror, or are they super into old classic horror movies? Whatever they're into, just have them talk about that. You would be surprised how much more comfortable people get being on camera, being on a live stream, when they get to talk about something that they're passionate about and that they're prepared for. So try to just make them feel like they're in a conversation with you when they're automatically already going to be a lot more comfortable, and just give them the opportunity to be passionate and to just sort of spew their passion all over the screen. And you'll be able to rein it in if you're sort of the moderator of the live stream. But yeah, just give them something exciting to talk about. Next question. What if nobody comes to your live stream? So that is a thing. I mean, right now, this is, I think, our lowest attended live webinar, although I'll admit most webinar people are latecomers. They're people who watch like the next day in the comfort of whatever time they prefer to watch YouTube videos. So here's what I will say about the sort of uncomfortability of being live and having not very many people watching. Don't That's not the word. Basically, don't let the content of your live stream depend on attendees. And I know that feels kind of counterproductive. At that point, it's like, well, why would I go live? But the opportunity is always there. And of course, if no one's in your live stream, other things probably went wrong. You know, maybe you need to do it at a different time of day, or you need to change up your marketing aspects, whatever that may be. But if like it really is a concern that because of some freak whatever, nobody attends the live stream, that's okay, because the way that you should be designing live streams, at least the kinds that I've been talking about in this presentation, are live streams that can live on after they're live. So let's take Stareable webinars, for instance. So the Stareable webinars, we've done 3 of these so far, and I consistently link to them when people are asking me questions about whatever the subject is. When people are like, I don't know how to define an audience and how to reach them. I'm like, well, we have a webinar for that. So here, watch that, and you'll get all the questions answered that you need. And obviously that webinar is no longer live. I'm not, on the moment going to do an hour and a half long presentation for them. But that content, while it was fun to be live, lives on outside of its live stream. So I designed these webinars to be good as video on demand, just as they are good for a live stream audience. So even this conversation we're having right now, you don't actually have to be hearing me have this conversation with you in the moment. It'll still be valuable later on. So as long as you're planning on like live streams, and you're planning your content to be something that can live on past the hour that you're live, then you're going to be fine. It's going to be a little bit, uncomfortable at first, and you might not feel great. And it's the nature of indie production. Sometimes we do something and we're so proud of it, and no one is there at the time that we really need them to be there. But that doesn't mean that the audience isn't coming. And that doesn't mean that you can't still put on a great show that people can watch as many times as they want in the future. So I would just say, design the content that you're live streaming to be valuable and interesting, even if it's a week later, or a month later, or a year later. Any other questions before I head out? Hopefully that answered it. Are there any questions about Stareable in particular? Or did I pretty much answer that? Again, the video to the presentation I did at Stareable Fest, using Stareable to succeed, will be in the link. I'm doing this because I know I'm on YouTube, so it'll be in the description box on YouTube. On Facebook, it'll just be in like the text, like the caption text. So let's see, I don't think anybody is typing. So if there are no more questions, I am going to play the Stareable Fest sizzle reel one more time. I just love the sizzle reel, you guys. They always let me pick the music for what sizzle reel, like for the background for the sizzle reel, and I really like the music that we picked this year. I just like listening to it. So if there are no other questions, let me just double check. No, doesn't look like there are any questions. Apparently, I was pretty comprehensive tonight. So once again, thank you to Stage 10 for being our partner in this stream. Thank you to Stareable for being the reason for the stream. And I am going to let you go. So thanks so much for being here, everybody, and have a good night.